Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial on how to use List Manager in Sitecore. So in this video I show you how to create lists from existing contacts, from existing lists and from the CSV file. I show you how Sitecore tags contacts because Sitecore adds a tag to the contact with the list ID, and also I will show you how to subscribe to the list programmatically. So as usual, we have to log into Sitecore, and as you can see on the dashboard, we have the list manager icon, and inside of the list manager we have few options. We can create lists and we can edit and manage our lists. In this instance I have only one list, and this list contains only one recipient. So I'm going to show you how Sitecore tags contacts and links contacts and lists together. So I'm going to navigate to the system and list manager. So this is the ID of the list, and if I switch to Mongo and display a collection of contacts, you can find contact by an identifier. In this case I'm testing myself, so I will be checking tags for this contact. And contact lists, this is a collection of IDs. As you can see, we have the ID of the list listed here. So if you have subscribed this contact to more than one list, you will see more IDs listed. So going back to Sitecore List Manager, from this dashboard we can create lists and import new contacts. You can create a list from a CSV file, you can import contacts without creating a list, and you can create a number of different lists, create lists from existing lists, you can create an empty list, a segmented list from all contacts, and segmented lists from existing lists. So I'm going to show you how to create a list from a CSV file, and before I upload the file, I show you the file itself. We have 4 columns. We have an identifier, an email address, first name and last name, and for the purpose of this presentation I will change my first name, because the quite important thing is that Sitecore, during creating or importing contacts, will update all the fields that have been specified. So for example, if Sitecore finds this contact in the contact database, Sitecore will update fields from the file and will overwrite what's stored in the database. So in this case, my first name is Piotr, and when I upload this file and create a list, Sitecore will change the original contact and will change my first name into Piotr1. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to select the list. This will become the list name, and so you can change it at this point. And you have to map email address to the email address. These are columns from the file, and you are mapping columns from the file with data that was stored in Mongo. You can also specify an identifier manually. So in this case, I mean in this instance, I'm using an email address as an identifier. But if you have something custom, if you have a custom identifier, you can specify it here, and Sitecore will use this identifier to find contacts. So again, you can create a custom column with an identifier. For example, if you're using a membership ID or another ID as an identifier, then you can do it here by selecting this checkbox. And on this screen we see that Sitecore has updated one contact. Sitecore hasn't created any new contacts because Sitecore has found a contact with this identifier and has updated my first name, and Sitecore has added a tag to this contact. So as you can see, my first name is now Piotr1, and if we refresh, we should see two IDs because we are now subscribing. This contact is subscribing to two lists, and also my first name should be updated. So this is quite important because you have to train your clients and content editors to make sure that they know the contact will be updated. So we've created a list from a CSV file. You can import contacts without creating a list. You can also create a list from existing lists. This will allow you to select a list from your system, from your instance, and then create like one global list. You can create an empty contact list and start subscribing to this list or use it in a campaign. You can create segmented lists from all contacts and from existing lists. So here you have to select a list that you want to include, and if you select this option, Sitecore will use all contacts from this instance. And segmented list is a dynamic list. So in this case, when I selected create a list from all contacts, Sitecore will filter all contacts and will apply this segmentation filter to all contacts. You can create your custom rules for segment builder, but let's say you want to select all contacts from a specific country. So by selecting this rule, Sitecore will select only contacts with this specific country from all your contacts. You will see the number of contacts that have been selected in these brackets, but the main list with all your contacts will be updated only when you click save. So don't worry when you don't see when you see all contacts listed here and you see that the rule has selected only, let's say, 10 or 20, 100 contacts, but this contact list hasn't been updated. So you have to save this setting, and Sitecore then will update the main contact list. I mean, the contact list that's displayed here. The last thing I'd like to show you during this tutorial is the client API. It will become available once you've installed Sitecore EXM. I guess you will be using lists when creating campaigns, email campaigns. So that's why I decided to cover this during this tutorial. During this tutorial, I'm using Sitecore 8.2 initial release, and compatible version of EXM is version 3.4. This graph represents requests that travels from the users through all the servers, and we have a list of methods that are available for us. So try subscribe uses recipient ID and message ID. So the important thing here is that this method adds the contact, the recipient ID, to the first non-segmented included list defined on the campaign. So the message is linked with the campaign, and Sitecore will subscribe to the first list defined on the campaign. You can get the recipient ID from the session, and if you don't have it there, or for some reason you're creating functionality that doesn't have access to the contact ID from the session, you can get it from the database, because you will know the identifier, so you can load contact read-only and you can get the contact ID from the contact that's been loaded. The next function, which is unsubscribe, uses again message ID and recipient ID. So we will be unsubscribing from all lists that have been specified on the campaign. And update subscription is slightly different, because this function allows you to update all subscriptions for the recipient, because you are passing a collection of lists. So we will be passing IDs of lists to subscribe and IDs of lists to unsubscribe. And the message route, which is the global ID, you will be probably storing that in configuration somewhere, so you will have access to this ID. And this is an example. You have examples below all these methods and descriptions. So it's pretty straightforward. Once you see the example here, you are passing a collection of lists, collection of IDs rather, and message route and the recipient ID. In this tutorial, we've added a bunch of different lists to the list manager. We've created lists from existing contacts, from existing lists, and from the CSV file. I've showed you how to debug problems with the list manager, how to compare the list ID from Sitecore and the list ID that's been added to the contact, and also how to subscribe to the list programmatically. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.